Jack and Lucy, a newlywed couple, set out on what they hoped would be a romantic holiday. Their journey began at a crossroads where three roads met, symbolizing the promise of adventure. They were filled with excitement, dreaming of the perfect getaway, but fate had other plans. As Jack drove along a quiet road, a speeding car suddenly appeared out of nowhere, forcing him to swerve sharply to avoid a collision. Although they avoided a major accident, the car came to a sudden stop, leaving them disoriented. Jack felt completely lost, unable to think clearly, while Lucy remained surprisingly calm. They tried to recall the way they had come, but nothing looked familiar anymore. Not far from where they had stopped, they noticed a small weathered signboard that pointed to a petrol station ahead. Relieved, they decided to head there, hoping to refuel and get some guidance. When they arrived, the place felt eerily quiet. Inside the store, an old man sat motionless behind the counter, his lifeless gaze fixed on them in a way that made both Jack and Lucy uneasy. Before they could say anything, a woman, presumably the shop owner, hurried out from the back. She looked annoyed and said, "My husband is a bit odd. Don't mind him." Her tone was firm but dismissive, as if she was used to explaining his strange behavior. When Jack mentioned they were headed to Lolly Falls, the shop owner's demeanor changed. She quickly suggested a shortcut through the mountains, insisting it would save them time. Jack eagerly noted down the directions, grateful for the help. Lucy, though still calm, seemed hesitant, but agreed to continue. As they set off on the mountain road, neither of them realized they had just made a choice that would lead them into a terrifying new chapter of their lives. As Jack and Lucy drove along the desolate mountain road, the air grew colder, and an uneasy silence settled over them. Suddenly, Jack noticed a broken barricade lying across their path. He stopped the car, stepped out, and pushed the barricade aside with some effort. But when he got back into the driver's seat, his heart froze. There was blood seeping from somewhere inside the car. Before Jack could process what he was seeing, Lucy's behavior changed. Her face went pale, and her expression turned distant, almost as if she were in a trance. But when Jack blinked, everything appeared normal again. Confused, he chalked it up to exhaustion and decided to keep going. A little further down the road, they spotted a beggar sitting by the roadside, huddled against the cold. Hoping for some guidance, Jack stopped the car and asked for directions. The beggar, however, stared at them with wide, frightened eyes and muttered, "Turn back now. Leave this place before it's too late." His voice trembled with urgency. Jack dismissed the warning, forcing a smile as he got back into the car. "Don't worry about it," he told Lucy as he drove on. But the encounter left an unsettling weight in the air. Soon after, Lucy suddenly asked Jack to stop the car. "I need to find a washroom," she said. Spotting a trail leading into the forest, she got out and walked toward it, leaving Jack alone in the car. As he sat waiting, Jack was startled by the sound of something falling from the back of the car. He turned around to see the rear door slightly ajar, but the back seat was empty. A chill ran down his spine. Moments later, Lucy came sprinting out of the woods, her face pale and her breath quick and shallow. "There's something in the forest," she stammered, trembling. "Something terrifying." She jumped into the car, started it without a word, and sped away, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. Jack kept asking her what she had seen, but Lucy could only repeat, "The forest! It was shaking. There was something there." Her voice quivered with fear, and Jack couldn't get a straight answer. As they drove in tense silence, Lucy suddenly slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt. Jack looked up, his stomach sinking in disbelief. In front of them was the same broken barricade they had passed earlier, as if they had been driving in a circle. Jack felt like they were stuck in a loop. Suddenly, they saw a blood-soaked woman standing in the middle of the road. Panicking, Jack shouted and pressed the car's accelerator, managing to drive away. Later, he realized it was just an illusion. However, after some time, they ended up at the same broken barricade again. This time, both Jack and his wife Lucy were terrified. They wondered if this was the haunted road they had heard about. Determined to find out, Jack got out of the car to look around. The sky suddenly turned dark. Using a flashlight, Jack spotted an old car on the roadside, identical to his own. Then blood started dripping from above. Shining the light upward, Jack saw a blood-soaked body hanging from a tree. Terrified, he decided to flee with Lucy, but a man with a knife suddenly ran toward them. Jack started the car in anger and drove straight at the man. To his shock, the man avoided the car and jumped onto the bonnet. Panicking, Jack reversed the car, unsure of what to do. The stranger smashed the car's barricade, leaving Jack and Lucy in panic. Lucy was trembling with fear while Jack tried to calm her down. Then the fuel indicator blinked, warning them that the petrol was almost finished. Lucy, angry and scared, shouted at Jack, "We should never have come to this place." Jack was about to reply when the stranger appeared in front of the car again. This time, the car refused to start. They had no choice but to abandon it and run. Suddenly, another car came speeding from the opposite direction. Its headlights flashed brightly, and the loud honking distracted the stranger. Jack seized the opportunity and quickly grabbed grabbed Lucy's hand. They slipped out of the car and ran toward the nearby forest. As the stranger tried to recover his balance, Jack and Lucy disappeared into the darkness, hiding behind a fallen tree. They held their breath, listening for any sign of pursuit. After some time, when the silence reassured them that the danger had passed, they cautiously made their way back to the road. But what happened next was even more terrifying. They saw a car parked on the roadside, but something about it felt off. It was as if they couldn't remember their past or even recognize their own car. Confused, Jack opened the car door and searched for the keys. That's when he spotted a photograph inside. The picture showed Lucy with another man he didn't recognize. Anger flared in Jack. He turned to Lucy, demanding answers. "Who is this man?" he asked, his voice shaking with frustration. Lucy looked just as confused and didn't know what to say. The tension between them grew, and an argument broke out. In anger, Jack stepped out of the car to get some air. He picked up the photo again to look more closely, but this time, the picture seemed to change. Instead of a stranger, it now showed Jack and Lucy together, smiling. Stunned and unsure of what was real, Jack called out to Lucy. The stranger suddenly attacked Jack from behind, knocking him unconscious. When Jack woke up, he found himself and Lucy tied up on the ground. In the distance, he saw the stranger eating pieces of a dead body. Realizing he might be next, Jack apologized to Lucy. Before she could respond, the stranger started strangling Jack. Just then, a stick hit the stranger, and Jack saw it was the beggar they had passed earlier on the roadside. With the beggar's help, Jack and Lucy managed to escape. As they ran, Lucy asked the beggar what was happening. The beggar explained that the forest had a strange magnetic field that erased people's memories and trapped them in a never-ending time loop. He revealed that he too had been stuck there for years. While they passed a signboard, the beggar suddenly lost his memory and couldn't remember Jack or Lucy. Left on their own, Jack and Lucy decided to find petrol to escape. As they walked, Jack noticed something strange. Lucy seemed to be heading in a different direction. He began to wonder if she was really his wife or just another trick of the forest. Later, Jack stepped out of a toilet and felt something odd. When he looked toward the roadside, he saw another version of himself standing near the car. Shocked, Jack picked up a fruit and threw it toward the other Jack. Before the other Jack could see him, Jack quickly hid behind the car and started searching for petrol. It seemed the other Jack also realized something wasn't right. Startled by Jack's strange behavior, the other Jack ran to his car as if he were being chased by something. Jack watched in fear, unsure of what to do next. Jack and Lucy finally realized that all the strange events were connected to Jack's other self. Determined to escape, Jack quickly filled the car with petrol and sped off. As the night grew darker, Jack saw the mysterious man standing in the road again. Honking loudly to draw his attention, Jack had a plan to save his other self from this dangerous loop. As they watched, they saw their other forms repeating the same events as before. Lucy suddenly had an idea. If moving forward wasn't breaking the time loop, maybe they needed to try something different, like driving in reverse. Jack agreed and shifted the car into reverse, speeding backward. When they reached an old signboard, the car stopped abruptly. Both Jack and Lucy felt a strange jolt, and their memories were wiped clean. Now they could only recall fragments of their day, forgetting their plan to drive in reverse and the dangers they had encountered. Lucy noticed a fresh injury on Jack's face and rummaged through the car for medicine. While searching, she found a knife hidden under a bag, the same knife the mysterious man had used. Fear gripped her as a chilling thought crossed her mind. Could Jack be the mysterious man? Lucy's face turned pale as she confronted Jack. "What is this? Are you the one causing all this?" she asked, trembling. Jack was furious. "Have you lost your mind? That man is trying to kill us," he yelled, frustrated. But Lucy couldn't calm herself, her fear spiraling out of control. Jack stepped out of the car to try and reason with her, but before he could say more, he saw the same mysterious figure approaching them with a knife. Panic set in, and Jack bolted into the forest, leaving Lucy behind to face her growing fears. Lucy tried to calm herself, thinking some fresh air might help. As she stepped out of the car, a sudden sharp pain shot through her stomach. A knife had been plunged into her. Shocked and in agony, Lucy fell to the ground. When she looked up at her attacker, her heart sank. It was her own double, her other form, staring back at her with a cold expression. Lucy couldn't believe her eyes. Before she could react, Jack returned, horrified by what he saw. He rushed to save Lucy, but her double turned on him, attacking him viciously. Jack fought back but was badly injured. Despite his wounds, he managed to help Lucy into the car. Just as he thought they might escape, another figure lunged at them. This time, Jack faced his own double. The hatred in the eyes of this version of himself was terrifying. Jack and Lucy began to realize the truth. The mysterious figures weren't strangers. They were manifestations of their own bad choices, born every time they made a wrong decision. These dark forms were the consequences of their actions. determined to destroy them. Even with this realization, their ordeal wasn't over. Lucy, still shaken and injured, remembered the hanging body from the tree. Fear and despair consumed her as she struggled to stay hopeful. Meanwhile, Jack, driven by determination, grabbed the knife and turned to face his double. In a desperate move, he slit the throat of his other form, watching as it fell lifeless to the ground. Without hesitation, Jack poured petrol from the car onto the body and set it ablaze. The flames consumed the dark version of himself, and as the fire burned, Jack felt his memories flooding back. He now understood everything: the time loop, the forest, and the consequences of their choices. Determined to escape the cycle, Jack started the car and shifted it into reverse once more. As the car sped in reverse, it picked up incredible speed. The darkness of the night began to dissolve, and the sky shifted rapidly as though time itself was unraveling. Suddenly, a blinding light engulfed everything, and Jack lost consciousness. When Jack woke up, he found himself in an unusual calm. For a brief moment, it seemed as if the nightmare was over. Seeing the car stop safely at the edge of a mountain road, Jack breathed a sigh of relief. But as he approached the car, his relief turned to horror. Lucy, his wife, was lifeless inside. The realization shattered Jack. His heart sank as he processed the devastating scene. Overwhelmed by grief and guilt, he picked up a wooden log and began walking slowly toward the forest path. As he wandered, it dawned on him that the beggar he had encountered earlier was yet another version of himself. The beggar had tried to stop them from progressing, not out of malice, but in an attempt to prevent the tragedy that Jack was now living through. This revelation hit hard. Jack understood that regret has no cure, and that each wrong decision feeds into an endless cycle of despair. Even so, it seemed his latest choice might only mark the beginning of another tragic chapter. So, dear listeners, this is where our story comes full circle. Did Jack finally grasp the importance of valuing the present and facing the future with courage and hope? Or did he become a victim of his own choices once again? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our next tale. Until then, take care and remember to make choices wisely. Goodbye and see you in the next video.